What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? A quick video. It's this time of year, the pressure washing season. Okay, it's nice out. I'm getting calls. I had an issue with this. I bought this last year, about a year ago. It's the Ryobi 3100. Okay, PSI. It's got the idle down feature. And what happened was, it was only working as I kept the trigger squeezed. It would work. As soon as I let go of the trigger, it would stall out, and I had a tough time starting it too. I'd start it on choke. You know, you pull your choke out. Okay, you put it on, turn your gas line on. It would run, and then I'd shoot it back over, let it warm up, and it would stall. So what we're gonna do today is I'm gonna open up this carb. I want to check it, because I left gas in it all season. I should have ran it dry. So in the future, if you have one of these, when you're going to put it away for the winter, you're going to have it running and turn the valve off, the gas valve, and let it run dry. So this way, the carburetor, there's no fuel left in that carburetor. So I'm going to take this off here. All right. Check the carb, check the float, check the jets, make sure they're cleaned. And then the other thing I want to check is the unloader valve, which is located under here. If you're wondering where the unloader valve is, it's not this one here where the hose is. Sorry about that, let me just focus this in. Not where the hose is, but this black one down here where there's a clip. And we'll go through that when I get to that part to check it. All right, let me just set this up. I'm working at the back of the trailer in the shade, which is nice. So let me just see if I can position this while I take this carburetor off. Just bear with me here. Alright. What you do is there's just two clips here. You want to push down on the clips. Comes right off. Check your air filter. Okay. Air filter looks alright. So we got two bolts here. Hold on, Richie. This is what the gasket you got to watch out for. You can see that. Okay, put that aside. This here this is the back gasket. Okay. Now with the carburetor, you have these two idle arms and stuff, so you want to just rotate your carburetor sideways. Okay, so here we go. We got the carburetor here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove this. I'm going to check the bowl. Okay, then you have a jet in here. I'm going to take that screw out. I'm going to check the jet, make sure it's clean. It's a little tiny pinhole. And we're going to take out the one underneath. Okay, we're going to check and make sure that there's no obstructions or anything inside. What you want to do is you just want to empty out the gas. There's a lot of gas left in here. Then you want to grab your socket. Have a place to put all your stuff when you're taking things apart. Alright, you take the bowl, open the bowl up. It looks pretty clean in there. Alright, I don't see too much junk. Remove this little pin easy. This little guy. Put it aside. And you can take your float out. Be careful, you see that pin hanging from the float? And it just fell, but I'll pick that up. You want to make sure that little hole inside is clean. Where that little pin came out. So you want to check this pin. These pins usually last a long time, but if it's a little corroded on the end, all right, you want to replace it. We'll put that aside with the float. Give it a little, take a look at it. Now inside here is another jet. You want to back that out. And then there's a stem in there, and the stem, you can see, if you can look in there, you can see the stem inside there, and that's the stem that's going to come down and we'll check the holes and make sure it's not clogged. You want to grab a screwdriver. You want to be careful. This is a brass fitting in there. You don't want to go too crazy because you could strip it. You want to unscrew it. Alright, now be careful. Little guy here. Put that aside. Look on here, you see tiny little holes. Little tiny holes. You want to make sure those little holes are cleaned out. And then we're going to reassemble everything, okay? And then we're going to check that unloader valve. So let me get to it. I'm going to check it all. You want to take a little carb cleaner. You want to spray it in the little holes. Oh, and we're going to take this one out too. We're going to unscrew this top jet right here, and we're going to check that too to make sure it's not obstructed. Alright, after putting the carburetor back together, we're going to reassemble it to the motor. So what you want to do is you got to take your time, but you got to put the gaskets, you got to put everything in line, and you got to send these long bolts through to hold it all. Alright, I put the gas line back on. Alright, so the carburetor's put back together. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the unloader valve out. And that's what, when you squeeze the trigger on any power washer, the valve opens and closes. So it's going to be in this little rubber thing here. It's got the springs on it, if you can see it. Okay. See if I can focus in on that. There you go. Take that little cap off, and what you're going to do is you're going to take a screwdriver, and you can see this little pin. You're going to pry this thing off. Okay. Take this off. Okay. And then you want to take your screwdriver. You want to get into the closest spring, and you want to get in there and give it a push. This one's kind of stuck here. It out. What I had to do was literally back the nut off the springs. This thing sat inside. I had to grab it with a vice grip right at the bottom where there's no thread, and I had to bang it up and out. And that's what it looks like inside. There's a lot of crap in there, and this is all shot. I got to clean it. This freely goes up and down. I'm going to clean this out, but this is what you want to make sure, that this little guy at the bottom goes up and down easy. I feel a little grit in there, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean out the inside of this. I'm going to clean all this with a nice little brush. Build up on there. See the holes that are clogged? So we're going to clean this up, and this will probably most likely do it. If you open it and this thing's jammed up and you can't get it to loosen up, you could order a new one for anywhere from $16 to $25 on Amazon for one of these. All right, but we're going to try this first. We're going to put it back together, and we'll take it from there, and we'll see how it works. Highly recommend one of these guys when it's hot out. All right, so what I'm going to do is, couldn't find my wire brush, so the next best thing you can use is one of these. Get a used one, and you just want to clean this out. All the crap that's built up. Alright. See how I'm just picking away at it? See all this crap? This is what's going to jam the flow. And your gun's not going to work consistent. It'll even stall the engine out. So on these idle downs, it's very important. Any power washer, before you go to someone's house to hook up to their hose, let their hose run for the crap out, because well water and things like that will build up all this crap inside your machine. So you want to go around like I'm doing here. You want to clean it all off. Okay. See how much better that looks? Alright, these little holes, you want to clean those out too. All right, get in there, clean that out, spray it real quick. Okay. Blow it out a little bit. And before you put this thing back in, before you seat it back in its spot, you want to apply a little grease on the inside of the machine. You're going to dump this thing the other way and get rid of that and spray it out. And then we're going to reassemble this valve. You put the springs together, you're going to push it in there, and you got to make sure that that clip, if you see the clip where it rides right in front to keep that valve in, you got to make sure that valve's in a little. So I had to just tap it with a rubber mallet just to get it in a little bit more, and then this way you slide that clip over and put it back into place, and then you just cover that spring with your rubber your cover. And if you look inside here, see all that buildup? That's what happens when you don't clear out a hose line, and I should practice what I preach, but sometimes you forget. So anytime you want to use a power washer, especially at someone else's house, well water, let it run for a while. And always check this here, your screen. Stuff still gets through that little screen, so pull that screen out every once in a while. And what you do is you just take, let me see if I can do this here. You grab a needle nose, and you just want to pull this guy out. And just take a look at this. Alright, and you can clean this off too. So you get a better flow, better water flow. So I'll brush that out too. Alright, then let's see if we get this thing started, see how it runs. Alright, now that the water's hooked up, always remember, before you start any pressure washer, have water hooked up and have the water turned on. You don't want to run these things dry. Alright, so what we'll do is, and I don't know what's going to happen because I'm just starting it off. So let's turn the gas line on. Let's open it. Let's pull the choke out. Let's put it to on. Choke out on. Let's give it a pull. See what happens. Let it idle for a minute on choke. Turn the choke off. I think I did it. The last time it would just stall right out. So let's see if the gun works. Hang on a minute. Put the valve back on. You want to turn on the water, you want to turn off the engine, and you want to give it a pull so you cycle some of this water through. Alright? Cycle some through. If there's any particles or anything in there, they'll come out. Alright? After going through the carburetor, cleaning that and cleaning the valve, it still ran, it started up, it ran good, but when I pulled the trigger, the idle down, it worked, but then when you let go, it didn't work, it cut off again. So what I did was, there's a cable that runs to the pump. It's on the other side of your valve, and what this cable does is it's hooked up to the engine. So when it works the idle down, and what I found out was the cable is stuck. So again, you have to remove, this was set in like this. It was set down inside. You got to remove the pin and you pull it out, and inside there's a spring. Okay, you got to be careful. There's a spring which looks like this. The spring was inside like this, and there is a little notch, a little tiny metal circle that goes on top of that spring that sits inside this little thing here. This little piece of metal sits inside at the top there, literally, you know, positioned right on top of the spring. It's right on top of the spring, and then the cover goes on. And what happens is the cable was stuck, and that little wire, if I could focus, a little wire in there wasn't going up and down. So I'm going to spray some lubricant through this cable, and I want to make sure it freely goes back and forth, and then we're going to set it back in place. We're going to try it again. What you want to do is you want to get this, you want to make sure it goes up and down easy. Alright, so you obviously, I started by putting a little bit of lubricant in there and letting it drain into the cable, and now I'm going to come to this end. You just take it and you just do a little bit at a time, just a tiny bit. Squeeze easy, let it go in the hole. Squeeze easy, let it drain inside. Alright, you want to get it to go nice and easy, because that idle is what makes this thing trip on and off for the pump. It's still a little stiff, so I'm going to work on it, then we'll put it back together and try it. Happy to say, after cleaning all those things out, she runs and she idles fine. And yeah, there was more things than I thought. So it's running, idling fine. Now we're going to spray the gun, make sure the compressor comes on, or the pressure. That was the biggest thing. When you're done, it would always stall, but it's running now. So those are the things you got to check: the carburetor, the valve, and that front cable where it got stuck. Cleaning all three of those things, it's running back to normal. All right, I appreciate you guys watching. Again, I appreciate all the new subscribers. By the way, I hit over 1,000 subs. I'm excited. Again, I can't thank you guys enough. Today is, believe it or not, Father's Day. It's a day I have to do this. So, to all the fathers out there, all the good, honest, hard-working fathers who hold it down, I want to wish you all a happy Father's Day. All right, listen, you know what we have to do now. Yeah, I'm hitting this tent real quick. I don't want to do it, but look how dirty it is. It's going to look nice when it's finished. Hey, yo, Sonny! Sonny? Yo, Sonny! Sonny! Where are you, Sonny?
Yeah, Sonny.
Sonny. What you doing, kid? Catch you on the next one, right?